Welcome everybody to episode 80 of UnHacked. Guys, I feel like episode 80, this is a
milestone.
Not really a cardinal number, milestone, but kind of. Preview of things to come. Just wait for episode 100. I'm really going to fuck with you. But today, I was told very directly by my editing partner and by my stepkids that our introduction needs an upgrade. They said it's really, and I quote, super boring when we introduce ourselves. So today, guys, the surprise is we're doing a fit check.
Okay.
A what?
Do we not know what a fit check is?
Well, doesn't look like I know anything about being fit.
Neither did I until this morning. I had to look it up. No, this is, oh my God, Mario, you dated yourself so bad. How old are you?
46.
And obviously, you 46?
Mm-hmm.
You're just a baby. You should know this better than I do. Brian, age check first. I guess you're younger than me too, right?
I am,
Okay.
but I'm older than Mario.
All right.
We'll just leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. That's fine, guys. I just turned 52. I'll go ahead and brag about it. I think. I have to check the math. Yes, I turned 52. Okay, so us old folks don't know anything about the younger generation's new language, all the slang. Fit has to do with your outfit, Mario, not your fitness level. So today we're doing a fit check, which is basically, what are you wearing? How confident are you? Why'd you pick the style? And people make these little videos. There's some controversy about it. I don't know the where it comes from. I guess is a little sketch. That's another youth words the youth use. Sketch. Except that's an older one. Okay,
that's cap.
Enough of this.
Cap. They don't use that. That's cap.
Cap.
6'7".
You guys are cooked. You guys are cooked. That's actually my favorite one. Okay, guys. So tell us about your wardrobe. I will start. This shirt that I'm wearing, you can't really see much, and if you're listening to the audio, you really can't see it. This is one of my older shirts. I've had this for, God, probably 10 years. But it's one of my favorite ones. So you'll see it from time to time. Go back and look at the YouTube. You'll see this shirt popping up from time to time. And I don't want to brag, guys, but when I record, well, most of the time I have a home office now. If I'm on camera, I dress like it up top. I might have a bracelet on. You know, I look all sharp, which is what started this. I came out of the bedroom today and everybody's like, what the hell are you dressed up for? Because, you know. Anyways, usually I'm in pajama bottoms, but whatever. Today I'm wearing jeans. That's my fit check. Justin Shelley, just checking in. Brian, you're next.
You caught me at the one time where I'm not completely dressed up, you know, in a shirt and dress pants. I'm just really casual.
I should have done this one.
Yeah.
We're bringing out the sound effects.
So this is just a standard shirt, you know, nothing too fancy. Jeans, shirt. Normally I wear dress pants and dress shirt, but today
fit check day, like, you cashed it in.
Felt like it was a casual day today. I thought for whatever reason it was Friday when I woke up. So
wishful thinking. It's only Thursday,
Very
people.
Wishful thinking, yes.
Mario, what do you got for your fit today?
So one of many of the Mastech collections, I'm wearing my black button down with my beautiful Mastech logo.
Branded. Yeah. Has anybody ever thought about getting a tattoo of their company logo?
Not happening.
I am my wife has like 5-6 tattoos. For me, I have a very, very low pain tolerance. I do not want any tattoos. Unnecessary for any pain.
That being said, Justin, we had a contest once upon a time where my service manager agreed that if something XYZ occurred, he would put a tattoo of B4 Networks on his forehead.
Oh.
A removable tattoo.
Damn it.
It wasn't permanent. And they won, and he had to put a peel and stick tattoo on his head, and it was there for a couple of days. So,
I could tell. There's so many stories. We gotta rein it in a little bit, but I mean, tattoos are wonderful, guys. You know that this is a thing where you can hire people they'll be walking billboards for you. You can put your brand stuff on them. Tattoo. I don't know. I heard about it.
I'm going to pass on that.
It's got to be true because I heard about it one time. So, guys, let's go ahead. No, this is now Mario. God damn it. How old are you? TikTok. We don't do. Facebook is for the unks.
The who's? Oh, the uncles?
Unk. Oh my God. You guys are so far
heard.
removed. Unk.
What's TikTok?
Unk means you're old. TikTok, if you don't know what TikTok is, it means you're unk. And on TikTok, you would learn what unk means. All right, guys, we have just lost all of our audience with this really ridiculous introduction. And I'm going to go back to my producer and just say, is that what you wanted? How about, I think you let us stick with our normal introduction from now on, huh? No more wise ideas. Anyways, today we are going to talk about, we're continuing our series. I think this is the 6th in our 12-part series on security basics. So what have we talked about so far? We talked, we kind of opened it up with who owns security. This is a leadership problem, and you need to have a measurable, something that you're measuring against. I use published frameworks. You can have internal standards, whatever, but it's got to be the same, with regular updates. But you just have to consistently measure against something to know where you're at, right? Then we talked about identity and access, passwords, MFA, privilege, all that kind of stuff. Today's going to be a little bit of overlap on that but we're going to try to keep it as separate as possible. Then we talked about inventorying our assets. What kind of computers do you have, networking equipment, making sure they're all up to date. We talked about endpoint security. We talked about backups and recovery last week. And today we get into email, phishing, and human risk. So like I said, a little bit of overlap, but we're going to try to keep it unique, fresh, we don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over. So guys, story time. And this is how I'm going to introduce today's topic. Years ago, I had a client who emailed me, and maybe they called, I don't know, but basically the CEO was out on a business trip. Normal stuff, right? The CFO gets an email from him, and it says, hey, I'm making a purchase of $50,000 to, these are the instructions. Get that money wired ASAP. You guys are going to get ahead of me. You got to know where this is going, right? It wasn't the CEO who sent the email. And later when we go back and review it, it was spoofed. It did not come from a compromised account, which is another way of doing this. But $50,000 was gone. Money wired past the deadline when the bank can get it back, which is pretty short, somewhere between 12 and 48 hours, depending. Irrecoverable. So that's my story. That's why we talk about this. And, it continues to be one of the main ways that people get breached and lose money. Bryan, then Mario, tell me a little bit about your thoughts on email compromises, and if you want, bring in how much you love Microsoft, because that was a subject that was getting thrown around before I hit record. Bryan, go.
Yeah. Okay. So what I've seen, and actually it happens very often, and unfortunately we can't protect very much against it. That is when one of our customers' suppliers have gotten compromised or email compromised, which means that it's a valid email account that is sending out messages to our clients, but in a nefarious way, obviously. So one of our clients recently received a message from one of their vendors, just indicating, hey, here's our new payment information, and here's how you pay us, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the client, followed through and sent some wire transfers to the wrong address or wrong location. And there's no getting it back, like you said, Justin. By the time people realize what happened, and this is not a compromise on my client. It is not a compromise on anything that we could have protected against, other than making the recommendation to everybody, which I think we've done even on this podcast multiple times, is never change payment information, especially wire transfer information, via email or any kind of electronic means. Just confirm it with a good old-fashioned telephone call to the number you have on file, and confirm the digits. If it is something that they indicated, yes, they want to change the information, confirm it verbally with the person on the other end, and that way you have double verification, both an email and verbal.
Right.
That's my story. Email compromises happen still fairly frequently today, so
yeah,
I'm still quite shocked at that. But
Mario, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, very similar story to what Bryan just mentioned. Like, we work with a lot of construction companies, so construction will work with a lot of subcontractors, like electricians, some plumbers, and there isn't, when it comes to like plumbers and electricians, they tend to not be a huge company. You usually with like a 2-3 user, electrical company. They're doing the work. They don't have the budget for full managed services or email protection. So if they get compromised, they are then their emails will get compromised, and then they will send the hacker will send on their behalf. So they will send an email to the contractor, and say, hey, we didn't get paid, on this, or we changed our information, can you go ahead and verify it? Now, all this stuff will come through, through regular spam filters, because it's a person that they are regularly communicating with. It's just who is on the other end of that email address, we can't see, we can't do anything about, we can't verify. We just know that this is a valid email address, and they will email on their behalf. And a lot of times what ends up happening, and we saw this recently, is when a hacker gets in now, especially using AI, what they're doing is they're downloading their entire mailbox, the email that got compromised. They're downloading everything, and what they're doing is, when they do get discovered, they're creating a new domain with a very small change. Instead of like an I, they'll change it to an L, so you can't really notice it. They'll copy signatures and stuff like that, and then they will make it look like you're continuing the conversation. They'll paste the rest of that conversation in there, and then just send you an email saying, hey, I never heard back from you, or whatever. They'll sometimes make it look like they're replying to a email that they had like weeks ago, and nobody's a wiser, because it's very hard to really identify it. You have to really go letter by letter and see what's correct and what's wrong.
So I'm going to go in reverse order, because we've been discussing it, and I want to summarize what we're really talking about here. These are called BEC, business email compromises. They come in two primary forms. One, we have what you just mentioned, Mario, which is a lookalike domain. There is little to nothing we can do about those, but I'm going to come back to that. And then the other one is an actual compromised email account, which is separate. They don't have to go buy a new domain. They don't have to have it look a little bit, close to it. It's literally the inbox of the person being, impersonated. It just isn't them. Somebody broke into the email, and they're sending out these emails from the actual user. They create custom rules that when the email comes back in, it diverts it somewhere else so that the user never knows. Right? These are both super scary.
Sometimes it starts with the one, and then when they're discovered, it goes to the other.
There you go. Yeah. But similar idea, where somebody is pretending to be somebody else, requesting a money transfer of some sort, a payment of some sort, and giving instructions that, Bryan, to your point, might vary from the previously agreed upon payment methods, and this gets you every time. And that's a great answer to this problem, right, Bryan? Have these procedures laid out. The case that I mentioned before, if you're going out of town and you might make a purchase, let your CFO know that up front. Let them know exactly how you're going to request money if there is a purchase to be made. And it just is kind of playing on what you already said, Bryan. So business email compromises, we're going to move into some other things. But before we do, guys, you have anything else you want to add as far as this particular type of an email attack?
It might just be that a lot of people think business email compromise, like their own email got compromised, but in a lot of cases it's somebody else's. And so it could be yours. You could certainly have gotten compromised. Hopefully not, if you have all the systems and protections in place. But it could be, and also it could be somebody else. And so, just being vigilant that it could be either end that is compromised.
Right. In either way, right? They could either be compromised by somebody getting into the inbox, or by somebody spoofing, or getting these lookalike domains. Right. Policies and procedures. This is going to come down to that, and we'll get into training here in a second. Mario, any final thoughts on BECs before we move on?
No, that's good.
I do have one about lookalike domains, though.
Okay.
Are we discussing protections yet, or
go for it.
Okay. So one of the things we've done, at least in Office 365, is that any newly registered domain emailing into any of our customers will flag it as soon as a person opens up the email. It'll say at the top, this domain has been recently registered. Be cautious of any emails going in and out of this account. Essentially saying that, hey, be wary that this domain is recently been registered by somebody else, meaning that it might not be the domain that you're used to talking, and so it's bright yellow. You can't miss it. And so if you're actively communicating with someone and all of a sudden you get that, it's likely fraudulent, right?
Okay.
And so it just adds one layer of protection to make sure people are paying attention. Like, oh, hey, this domain is new. Is it the one I've been talking with before? And just brings people to that scrutiny.
An old company with a newly registered domain, probably not the way it's going to be. But here's another thing you can do, though, is you can report these. So this takes a little bit of work. I actually had to go through this exercise with a client recently because they are on a list somewhere, somehow, where somebody knows who they are, what they do, how they do it, and they will go register these domains and send out emails to their clients. Right. So it's not even anybody I'm directly involved with. A bad guy goes in, registers a lookalike domain for my client, sends out emails to their clients. I'm completely out of the picture. That's a tough one. So what they have to do, which, this really sucks, but every time that happens, somebody has to report it to them so they even know about it. Then they've got to go into like a who is lookup. I had to explain to them what that was and find out who the domain registrar is. I had to explain what that meant. And then once you know that, you can go to the registrar and you can find out where, how to report abuse with them. And you can just send that and say, hey, this domain looks very similar to mine. It's being used for malicious behaviors, and the registrar will then take that domain down. You can also report it the FBI. Yeah, I mean, you have to prove it. And sometimes then there's a place, the FBI has an agency, I forget what it's called, but like a subsidiary or whatever, where you can report to. All this you can Google, right? Or use ChatGPT to figure it out. I think the FTC has something as well. So you are left to reporting this to authorities and hoping that they'll do something to help you. Very annoying, very frustrating, but unfortunately, there's just not a lot we can do to prevent that one.
Mario? Something else a little related, but not exactly. One thing that we've seen a lot is when new employees add themselves to LinkedIn, saying they got a new job at XYZ company and they're so happy and stuff like that, they become a target because now they realize that this is a new employee. Most likely they want to impress their boss or the owner. So they become a target. So then they automatically start getting like these emails, like pretty much similar to what you were saying. From the owner, I'm on a business trip. I need you to do me a favor. Go to, Walgreens and get me some gift cards, and keep this between us, and they'll make it like, welcome to the company. Here's your first major assignment. I need this. So all of a sudden,
use your own money.
Yeah. All of a sudden, this new employee is like, oh my God, the owner of the company is actually emailing me directly. And he needs a top secret favor and, and stuff like that. And then, they become a victim. But it was just because, they posted on LinkedIn or Facebook or TikTok, whatever the hell these kids are doing now. And then, and they just they become a target.
Yeah. And so we're now, well, I guess that's still impersonation. I'm trying to keep our buckets, aligned here. It comes down to training, right? So if we're going to talk about it, we got to figure out how do we prevent this? And really step one, as terrible as it is for new employees, is they have to understand how we do business. And that's, hopefully it's something better than throwing them in a dark room with a book that's 150 pages long and say, read this. Don't worry, there's a test afterwards. No pressure. You start tomorrow morning, get all your paperwork done today. Tomorrow we go to work. Hopefully you've got a better system than that. But however you do it, you've got to make sure your employees know what your normal procedures are. Right? I mean, guys, what else you got on this one?
Just make sure you have those procedures in place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think having the procedures in place and first, and then definitely making sure new people are aware of it. Like our team goes through at least a 3-4 week training process that goes through all of the different tools we use, as well as our critical policies and procedures. And it sounds like overkill, but honestly, by the time they get on the phones to help our clients, they are very well aware of almost everything that we do and how we do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw this in. We're definitely out of order because I want to come back to security awareness training. But I will say, if your plan to train people is to, open up the fire hose and just douse them with it on day one, or even weeks 3 through 4, and then it's over. And I know you don't do this, Bryan, so I'm well aware that you have a better procedure than this, but a lot of companies don't. You just annihilate them in the beginning with everything, and then you expect them to remember that for the rest of their employment. I mean, come on. You've got to have this be a part of your culture. It can't just be, annual training is the minimum. That's what most of the frameworks call for. But even monthly training or weekly micro training or some of these other tools that are used, it's better, but this has to become a culture within your company of constantly educating and making people aware of these risks. Agreed. Your thoughts on that?
I do subscribe to the culture of learning and a culture of making sure that we're highly aware of what's going on cybersecurity wise. Like every time there's a major breach or any kind of notification, we're passing the information throughout our entire office, and sometimes we'll even post it publicly for our clients to see if it's something that we feel might impact a lot of our clients. Like as an example, the authenticator critical update that went out for all application, or like for your mobile phones. I don't know when it came out, but it was announced recently that it's something that everybody should be updating. Justin's like, crap, I got to update now.
Anyway, what the fuck are you talking about? I was asleep for that one.
Yeah. So we'll often pass those around the office, like as in a Teams chat, and then determine whether we want to share it with clients. And so our team is very well aware of all the type of securities and events that are going on. But I'm also a big believer in lifelong learning, as you all know. And so we have constant training, we do weekly micro training for cybersecurity, but we also do repeated training over and over again for policies, procedures, and SOPs and things like that on an ongoing. We call it like the 12-month journey. So everybody goes through different training on a regular basis.
So since we're already here, we're talking about culture, we're talking about awareness training. It's more than just knowing this stuff. It's more than just being educated on it. And the culture is probably the second most important thing. But I would argue that the first most important thing is to add a layer of communication. We have to not just like throw this stuff down their throats, ram it down their throats and make them ingest it and be aware of it. But when they see it, they've got to call it out. And you have to have a system that, at a minimum, accepts these reports, this information back in the other direction. But ideally, the culture plays in here too, where you reward, you train on it, and then you reward on employees bringing this stuff back to you because they're running the front line. We aren't, right? We don't even know what's going on half the time, other than our little dashboards and reports and stuff that we're looking at. We're not out there interfacing. We're not dealing with it. So tell me a little bit about that. And Mario, you've been too quiet for a while, so I'm punting over to you. How do we get our employees, first of all, our own companies, but then also our clients and their employees to bring this information back to leadership?
I mean, the one thing I will say, and I don't know if I'm really answering the question with this, but just like what we do with a lot of security is you have to have a zero trust approach. You have to, if something comes in that kind of makes your spidey sense kind of tingle a little bit, you have to assume it's some sort of fake email hack or whatever, and go with a zero trust approach. Always assume it's not correct, because if it's asking for some sort of information that is not normal, most likely there's something behind it.
Yeah. Bryan, you have any thoughts on this? Oh, sorry, Mario, you still going?
No, that's it. No.
Okay.
I don't disagree. I don't know if I've put systems in place to reward people specifically for bringing forth any kind of breach or cybersecurity concern. What I will say, though, is that I've seen companies penalize somebody for accidentally clicking on a link and then reporting it and saying like I clicked on this link or I did this thing, and then they penalize them for it when it should be the other way around. It's like, okay, well you self-identified that you screwed up, congratulate, thank you for letting us know, because not letting us know is worse than letting us know. You penalize people, you punish them. What'll happen is you've just trained them not to report it next time, right? You've negatively reinforced like, hey, yeah, you probably shouldn't be letting us know that you clicked on the link because you're going to get in trouble. And so positive reinforcement, yes, but don't negatively reinforce it by punishing people when they accidentally do things, because we're all human and we all make mistakes. Now, if they repeatedly making the same mistake over and over and over again, now they're a security concern. And as far as I'm concerned, it's no different than if they were not treating, for example, climbing up a ladder or safety seriously, and they were putting other people at risk. When people are constantly putting people at risk from a cybersecurity perspective, the whole company's at risk. And so don't punish people, but at the same time, don't let them get away with it over and over and over again if they're a problem.
Well, and I want to clarify, when you say don't penalize, punish people, whatever, we have to be pretty careful with how we define that too, right? Because even remedial training can be seen as a form of punishment, which is one of the most common courses of action to take if somebody clicks that link. The systems, most of the security awareness training systems, you click a link, a bad link, a fake bad link, and it's like, you screwed up. Now you're punished by, you have to sit and take this course. You have to, run through a video. You've got to take a test. You've got to, and then it goes in and it dings your score if you have a score system. So, I mean, you're absolutely right. And this is like, can be a double-edged sword. We have to be super careful how we handle this, because what we see as remedial training or a way to improve or to further protect can psychologically, emotionally to our employees look like punishment. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on that?
Suck it up, Buttercup. Watch the video. Sorry.
All right.
I'm not sure how to add to that, because I do believe in remedial training.
No, and I to be clear, I'm not saying we shouldn't. Yeah. I'm not. I am saying that if we're not careful, these measures can be seen, and this is where I believe it comes down to culture. It's like, hey, letting people know, set the expectations up front. Listen, we have these simulated phishing emails that you're going to get. And we're supposed to talk more about phishing. Maybe it'll just kind of organically happen here. But you're going to get these emails. And if you click on them, just know that it is designed to call you out and to, you'll have to do some training. And this isn't punishment. You're not going to get fired for this. This is to make sure that we're all on the same page, to protect this company, because without this company, none of us have a job. Right? I mean, it comes down to how you frame this and what your culture is around it. Yes?
Yeah. And that you can definitely incentivize.
Yeah, absolutely.
People just
click as many bad links as you can, take as much training as you can, and you get a cookie. Well,
no. But if you report the phishing attempts, because we did that for a long time. Actually, for a couple of years we did that, where all of our clients would be receiving phishing attempts, and if they reported it, and it was one of ours, which means if they're looking for ours, they're also looking for all the other ones that don't look like ours. If they reported ours, there was a little button that they would click on their Outlook that they would say, like, I think this is a phishing email, and it would automatically right away say, congratulations, you found one of our phishing attempts, and they would be entered into a draw to win a $100 gift card across all of our clients. I don't know why we stopped that. I think just the person who was responsible for it left, and then it, like everything else in corporate culture,
Get on it, Brian. Get on it.
Yeah, but definitely something I want to reintroduce now that you bring up, rewarding people for good things. So.
The thing is, at the end of the day, people need to stop being so sensitive. Like, yeah, you we're testing you, and it's designed to trick you, and if you don't get tricked, good job. If you get tricked, stop. Don't do it again. At the end of the day, that's how we grew up. People now are
we got our asses beat.
Is
that what you're saying?
Yeah, people are too sensitive now.
Get the paddle out.
You climb up the tree fort, you fall down. You remember next time to use the ladder correctly, or I don't know.
At school, did your principal's office have the paddle up on the wall? And you go in there every time afraid he's going to pull that thing down and whack your ass with it?
No.
Once again, you're showing your age, Justin.
Hey, I am. I already said I'm the oldest one in the group. I'm not hiding that. Okay.
Punishment is not a thing in our schools. Come on.
Oh, it used to be. Okay, so here's, I'm not I don't know that we've all arrived at a place where we're in agreement here, but I do want to deflect to really what drives this point home to me is the worst example of the opposite that I've ever seen. And fine print, disclaimer, whatever. I just read this in the newspaper, and dating myself again. It was online. It wasn't a physical paper. But city of Fort Worth, I guess I can say it because, again, I'm just quoting the newspaper. They were breached. But what happened was the IT manager, and I'm not claiming any of this is exactly accurate because I read this thing like 5 years ago, but two different people in the IT department identified problems, and they were quoted as having said something to the effect of, "We are not even 10% compliant with industry standards." Okay, they were badly underprepared for this. They brought it to their superiors and said, "Hey, these are the problems we've identified. Proposed solution here. What are we going to do?" And their superiors, who included finance people, said, "Sit down and shut up, because if you say anything, we all look bad. Then we're going to have to go to budgeting meetings. We're going to have to say, hey, we need money for this and that and the other thing." And they're going to say, "Well, why aren't you already doing it?" Anyways, it got political. So they didn't do anything. And the breach happened. And it got worse. They lost $500,000. They huge deal that ended up in a lawsuit and like people fired, just a mess. So details aside, I am saying that be careful about your culture, and yeah, get the paddle out if you need to. But whatever you do, make sure that if somebody brings a valid concern to you, reward them. I'm going to go farther than just don't punish them. Reward them. Have a system in place to say, hey, thank you for caring, because we have to be a united front. We are fighting a goddamn war, right? This is organized crime. These are people that are very funded. And if security is just an afterthought at best, and God forbid something we punish in our cultures, like what in the hell are we doing, and how do we ever expect to win this battle?
Very true.
Help me, guys. Help me out here.
Very, very true.
No, I agree with you 100%.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, rant over.
I remember that story, though. I remember as soon as you started
I
telling
tell
the
it all
story,
the time.
I was like,
It's just
I
like,
remember this.
I can't believe, to this day, I'll go back and read it again thinking, clearly I read this wrong, right? Maybe they came out and clarified. It's like, no, this is really what fucking happened. Jesus Christ.
Yep. And it happens more often than you might think.
That's my point. That's my point. So, anyways, so I think, guys, we've talked about most of what I think we need to talk about today. But before we wrap, I'm just going to kind of let's free form, whatever, open mic, talk about specifically email, but this kind of problem in a business. What do our listeners need to know? What do business owners need to know to properly protect themselves? Hopefully something we haven't already, a horse we haven't already beat to death.
I mean, as far as what they need to do is they need to follow the outline that we've been putting together. You need to have not only security on your firewall and your workstations, but as your emails. At the very minimum, 2FA. There's dozens of companies out there that protect your 365. In the event they detected something like a mailbox forwarding rule is created, it triggers something. They will automatically lock out the account and and stuff like that. Because like what I tell my customers is, even if it is false, somebody created a mailbox rule and it triggered and it locked out their account. We rather apologize to them that it got locked out. Okay, you've been without your email for a half hour a day, than the worst case scenario where there was something created, nobody knew about it, they've been in your system for weeks or months, and it went undetected because the guidelines were not in place to detect it. So and this stuff is not expensive. I mean, we're talking a few dollars per mailbox. Yes, it builds up, but so does $40,000 going to a wrong ACH account.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you mentioned downtime, because I can hear that one in my brain. An executive is off doing, trying to conduct business. His email account gets locked because it's suspicious. It really isn't suspicious. He's just, not behavior that the system's trained on. Maybe he goes to Florida instead of New York, for business one time. And it can be a real cost. And so I want to make this point. Security does come with a very real cost in both dollars and inconvenience. Always. It's inconvenient and it is expensive. I'm not going to lie. But that, maybe you miss a business deal. Maybe, you can't send something off. You can't send off a proposal. You can't close a deal. That's huge. It's better than going broke. It's better than losing your business. So, like you said, you guys earlier said, let's take off the little feather gloves and guys, this is real shit. And it's annoying and it's expensive, but you better do it or you're going to be out of business.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, I think we're going to wrap or roll forward to key takeaways. So this is it. This is your last chance to say anything on this topic, and then we're never going to say it again. We're never bringing this back up again.
You're right.
We will never repeat anything about email security as long as this podcast lives. Mario, what are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts is pretty much like everything we said. You have to have the proper guidelines in place. Make sure, once you've put it in place, you test it, have your employees follow it, and, go with the trust nobody, because that, the people that trust nobody are the ones that ends up, being safer than the ones that are trusting everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Bryan, final thoughts.
Okay. My final thought is this. Like all cybersecurity, email security is a shared responsibility, right? Yes, your IT provider will likely have, if you have one, systems and processes in place and tools in place to protect you. However, you also have a responsibility of making sure that you understand what are the likely ways that an intruder will get into your email and or trick you through phishing and or somebody else's compromised email, and have written policies, which IT, like us as MSPs, could recommend, but you have to implement them because we can't, because it's your business. Written policies that go, okay, if somebody's changing a payment method, here's the process to follow, right? Which would include a verbal component to verification. If somebody's asking you to do something out of the norm, here's a procedure that you would follow. If you suspect that your email is compromised, here's the procedure you follow. In most cases, just send an email to your IT provider or your boss, whatever the case may be. But just have policies and procedures in place for the what ifs, right? It's a shared responsibility. IT can't do it on their own.
Yeah. I'll add this as my final thought. I used to quote it. I've been looking around to see if I have this book sitting here, and I don't. It's called Future Crimes by Mark Goodman, I believe, is the author.
Oh, very good book.
And I would send this book to people, and I would have a bookmark on page 435, whatever it was. I don't remember what page it was. And I would highlight the line that said something to this effect. I won't quote it word for word because I can't find the book. But it said, if you think technology is the problem, then you don't understand the problem. And it would go on to say that we, right here, us, people, humans, we are the problem in security. We are where we need to spend most of our time and attention. And, we have beat this horse to death when we talk about policies and procedures and training and rewards and punishments and culture. But I will just say it again. People are the problem. So get a good IT company to handle your technology. That has to be there. But you as a CEO of the organization are solely responsible for how this thing really plays out in your company. You have to build the culture that supports the cybersecurity efforts and that brings your team together to fight this battle, because this battle is very real and we are fighting very real enemies. And these are not, people in their basement in their underwear hobbyists, right? That's kind of the vision we had for a long time on hackers. This is organized crime, guys. These are state-sponsored in a lot of cases. Regardless, there are the best brains in the business are out there doing this kind of stuff. We have to fight hard and we have to fight strong. So that's my key takeaway, guys. And I think that's going to be it for this week. Never again to revisit the subject of email security and bullshit. We'll be back. Anyways, go to unhackmybusiness.com for additional episodes, for resources, for downloads, for all that kind of stuff. All right, guys, let's go ahead and say our goodbyes. Bryan, as always, thank you for being here. Mario, same. Appreciate you guys every single week. Let's sign off and then and we'll wrap. Bryan, what do you got?
If any of you out there are looking for somebody to help you out and be your guide with cybersecurity, we're here to help you get 1% better and welcome you on that journey. Yeah.
Don't botch your sayonara.
I
mean, like, what do people remember? They remember the first thing and the last thing you say. There we go.
Yeah,
all right.
I just botched it. So call Justin. Don't call me.
we'll cut it out. We'll bring one in from the previous episode where you got it right. And I'm full of shit. Mario, what's your sign off?
Tell your employees to stop being so sensitive to do their shit, because they're keeping you up at night, and they're the cause. There could be the cause that I'm botching this shit up.
That's it. We're all botching it.
They're the ones causing you to stay up at night. So if you want us to help you sleep better, give us a call.
And I'm going to stammer mine just so you guys feel better about yourselves, guys.
Okay,
I am Justin. Remember, listen in, take action, and keep your businesses
unhacked.
Oh my God, you missed the cue. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.